Welcome in the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we've got a huge show for a huge week. We've got Lathan Ransom going to join us in about 10 minutes, as he typically does on their off days. It's the Buckeyes off day now. They've had practice yesterday, a couple big practices on Wednesday, Thursday, before they will be heading out, I believe, on Friday. So huge show to talk about Lathan. We'll talk a little bit about the Texas game, how all that went through, and then obviously – what they've got looking forward and looking ahead. How do you slow down a guy like Riley Leonard, that Notre Dame, that potent Notre Dame rushing attack? So it'll be big. Then we got Bill Bender after that. It's like we're just going to lay out the whole week today. We're going to have AJ then, as we normally do on Wednesday. We'll have our guy Ben Stevens on Thursday, preview the game, maybe even some of the
Ben Scott Stevens. Stevens.
Our guy Ben Scott Stevens help you win some cash on the game. If you're trying to go there, I mean, the least you can do is win a little bit of money so you can get it rolling. And then on Friday, we're gonna have Rocky Boyman, who is a Cincinnati native and a Notre Dame alum. So pretty excited to have him. And then I'm hoping to get Joshua Perry on for our show the day of the game and get that rolling. So we'll have a nice big, I guess, what we have, 5-6 pack, whatever it is, of guests, but 2 today, 1 tomorrow, 1 moving forward, but pretty big. So there's obviously a lot of little tentacles that we can look at. We talked a lot about the Texas game, and I feel like, we can touch on that a little bit more, and we will in some of the headlines and different things. But, I mean, moving forward and looking at this Notre Dame team, Schleich, like coming off of that game, looking at this week, the preparation level, the attention to their bodies, like everything that needs to be done. I mean, what is that process going to be like to get these guys up to speed? 'Cause we got some guys that were nicked up. He talked about with his upper body, upper extremity, I believe. JT with an ankle. They said Austin Cervell was a little bit beat up. Now, that rotation that they had with Luke Montgomery, Austin Integra, all of a sudden that starts to pay dividends when you have one guy go down. So that's what building depth can do for you. But we'll find out, maybe about his availability later in the week. But just as they go through this, getting everybody healthy and getting everybody ready to go, and then what these practices ultimately will look like as they begin to move forward and roll through their normal week.
Well, let's start with the beautiful thing about week 16 is that it's on both sides, Bob. It's on both sides. I mean, Jeremiah Love didn't necessarily look like himself in that game, though. Again, great effort. Lost a defensive tackle, lost 2 offensive linemen in that game. I mean, the resiliency of Notre Dame, just like the resiliency of Ohio State, like 2 teams that care about each other, very similar in that aspect. They have some people trying to get ready. Austin Severfeld, right? Like he got nicked up, and why Luke started, like you mentioned. So at this part of the year, it's all about trying to get your body right. And they have one of the best, old Dr. Stu. I mean, Stu is, and the best thing about like programs that you and I are around, Bob, like Stu and the athletic training staff, and you can talk more about it, but they just get your body right, And the nice thing is that it's not necessarily straight up like 7 days later you're playing. This one, would you have about 9 days? So you got a couple extra days.
Friday to Monday, you get that extra weekend in there.
Yep, so you can get your body right. So listen, if there's one thing I trust Stu and the athletic training staff and Sean Barnhouse and all those guys to make sure that they're ready. But to your point, what does a Monday practice look like? And I think we asked Lathan this, but as they move forward, today is their off day. What are they doing? They're eating, they're sleeping, they're hydrating, they're getting extra recoveries. They're in the athletic. If you got any kind of boo-boo, you're in the athletic training. Why is my volume high? I don't know. That's your volume. You're the guy with the deal over there, Pat. But anyways, they have to do all, like, if you have a boo-boo, like, you're in the room. Like, it just is what it is. As a matter of fact, everybody's in there. I think to this point, they done a really nice job. But if you look at yesterday's practice, probably not a lot of physicality with especially the interior linemen. Guys still got to run routes. You still got to do that. But you also don't want to accumulate volume like we talked about, right? You don't want to go and blow them out on a day before an off day and then come out and have another hard one just because you got extra days doesn't mean you have to accumulate extra volume. And I think, again, with this team being so veteran, a lot of that can be done in walkthroughs. A lot of that can be done through film prep. That doesn't mean that you don't go out there, because your twos and your threes still get reps. Like, that's kind of the beauty of being able to play longer, Bob, is that you get more time for development of those guys, and you get more time for the coaches. It might not necessarily be the guys that are going to execute it, but the game plan versus the looks that they're seeing, do they like it or do they don't? So it's not necessarily on the ones that get banged up all the time. It's honestly probably a little bit more for the coaches and the developmental guys on a day like yesterday. But as they move through this and you're in week 16, how good was your coaching prior to? It's how I always look at it. Like, do I have to go out there and practice just for the sake of practicing? Or can I go out there and practice with intent, making sure my guys get the meaningful reps that they're going to see in the game, predicated upon the game plan that we feel that Notre Dame's going to do against Ohio State, both offensively, defensively, and special teams? Because, again, in this, and you look at through the college football playoff, something that Notre Dame has done very, very well, the special teams. Like, those are the type of days where you can talk about the gamemanship and the football acumen, that situational football, as you and I talk about all the time, Bob, with the guys just in walkthroughs. And so, though that can be somewhat, mundane and methodical, with a veteran team, you're going to have a high amount of focus on that, because the details matters when you're in week 16.
Absolutely. And so that's what's beautiful to see. So this off day, you get into 2 more days. You want to get the guys moving. So that's a balance, like, so you don't want to blow them out, but you want to make sure that they stay moving and keep them in that natural and normal routine, and try to get some of the guys that are nicked a little healthy.
And Bob, and that goes into, it's like, hey, you know what a normal game week. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butt in.
Yeah.
You know what a normal game week as far as volume on the field looks like, and you know how you've been doing it throughout the college football playoff. So just because you have an extra day, how does that fit in with the alignment of the totality of volume that you want, high speed distance you want, high speed distance you want, how much contact do you want? Like, this isn't the week to be running pursuit drill. It's just facts, right? So it's like, making sure that everything we do is with intent to set our guys up for success, because the only thing that matters right now is the fastest, healthiest, most violent team on January 20th.
And so how do you balance that, Schleis? I heard the question asked to Chip Kelly today in their press conference. It was very interesting. I think it was Dave Holmes maybe that asked it from SYX6. And the question was, like, when you're preparing for this, since it is the last game, do you prepare it differently with reps for plays, distribution, tempo? Is that different than it would be if you knew you potentially won and kept playing? And Chip's response was, well, you don't hold plays back. He's like, that's a really good question when you start talking about rep distribution and how it ultimately looks, because you want your guys to be able to be fresh in the game. But at the end of it, you want your guys to be a wrung out sponge. Like, whatever they have left, let's pour it out here. And let's have the guys, because like to quote Rocky, there is no tomorrow. And so balancing that, like, the whole season has been reps, pace of play, taking care of guys, making sure you can play well and get them to that next week. Well, now it is the next week. The next week is here. As Schlegs, or as Tresh used to say, Schlegs, tomorrow is now. And so this is the final week. So it's a balance of getting guys ready, but like, you're not saving anything for anything anymore. Like, this is it.
Yeah. I mean, you want them like sputtering after the game, right? Like, I don't need anything left in the tank. I want it spilt on the field in Atlanta. In the weight room, it's always the same. Intensity is king, volume is a killer. Your body needs intense lifting, but you get that in your core lifts. After that, you're doing your accessory things, but volume is a killer. So you got to, regulate that appropriately. It's the exact same thing on the field. How many times do we got to do a full kickoff with our ones? How do we know their spacing? I got to get one live rep. I can get other reps and we can watch it on film, but guess what? That's with the twos. That's with the threes. It's the same thing when you do an inside drill. How many of those, thud contact reps do our guys need? And I will say this. I think Ryan Day, and again with Chip, and as they've gone through and as college football has morphed into the NFL model, I think our guys do a very, very good job. And they learned this in spring football, because great. I love it when you bring nuggets up that just come back into my mind.
Oh, let's hear it.
There was an emphasis on the different types, and I forget what they were and what they called them, but like, thud versus, they had another tempo, right? Like tackling tempo, and then they had live, and it's like, what are you trying to accomplish there? Like, what is a good thud? Like, nobody's coming from the side, right? Like, when to hold off. You probably could have been in the tackle. Coaches know that you could, right? I can square a guy up. I can two-hand touch to make sure that I know that I made a tackle. I'm watching my surroundings so I'm not going to get anybody hurt. Like, you see that in OTAs all the time. Hell, we got fined in the Jaguars because dudes were laying on the ground. You can't have dudes on the ground. You get fined $100,000. So I think the coaching staff all the way back in spring did a really, really good job of educating our guys how to practice safely while still having the same mindset of 4 to 6 A to B plus 2. Because as you get in a 16-week long thing, like that's where the injuries happen. Guys trying to come in out of position, trying to make a play, fall on somebody, there goes a knee. Like you can't have that, right? It's about everybody being healthy, everybody being safe if you're going to have this type of journey when all your dudes are on the field and available, because that's how you win. You win because your alphas are available at the end of the year. The team with the most alphas automatically have a competitive advantage. Then it becomes execution. And if you execute at a high level and you got more alphas, the likelihood is you're going to win the game, period, dot, right? So I think
Like
that
formulas
all
for
started
success.
back in the spring.
More alphas, better execution equals W. So M plus M equals dubs. All right. ME, more execution. MA, more alphas equal more wins. MW. There we go, Schlegs. All
Oh,
right.
man.
Well,
Math.
I'm going to get the math there for you. You love formulas, Schlegs, like E plus R equals O. Attention, parents and athletes. Protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits, the ones that Lathan Ransom doles out, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including that custom carbon fiber that's 3D printed right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go to exportguards.com/Bobby today and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. Intensity is king. Volume's the killer. The dude with tons of volume on his arms, Lathan Ransom, coming up next. All right, here we go. Now, pleased to welcome in our guy with us all season long, dude with the greasiest guns, all oiled up, ready to go, ready to play.
Look at him.
He's covering them up, keeping them warm right now because it's a little bit cold in Ohio. Lathan, congratulations on a huge win. Congratulations on a great defensive performance. Heading into that game, I mean, what was the mindset like after coming off a week of practice, and then how did everybody feel?
Yeah, I think the mindset was good, man. I just knowing that we had unfinished business, knowing that you can't get too high on these games because there's another big game just as important, just as big, even not bigger. The stakes are higher going to the game, and I think Coach Day does such a great job of enjoying the moment that day, that night. But the next day, we're already on the film. We're already preparing for the next team, and man, it's like I mean, obviously, I'm not in the NFL yet, but everyone that's saying it, all the older dudes, the coaches that have been in the NFL, are treating the season like an NFL season. So doing as much as we can to simulate what it's like to prepare in those playoffs and these playoffs. And I think he's done such a great job at that.
I'm gonna let Bobby talk about your recovery. I want to talk about the game. One, locker room after Trey goes and takes it to the house. Just how that lifted up everybody. What was the message in the locker room going into the second half for everybody? And then 2, walk us through the goal line stand. Because again, like somebody tweeted out, there was 5. I believe you guys probably had more than 5 goal line stands. I mean, honestly, if you think about that, like crazy talk, right? Goal line stands, they showed 5 pictures and it was +7 for the Buckeyes. Like that's elite of elite stuff. Talk about, and I know we said, man, if you give us an inch, we'll defend it. But it's a little bit different when you give us an inch and we're going to score 7. So just go ahead and wrap our heads around what that went like. Because I literally was up there in section 317 screaming my ass off for you, man. I was like watching, like, dude, watch my boy Lathan right there. You know, and I'm just talking to my son about it. So walk us through those scenarios.
I said the locker room was like, as the defensive side, 'cause, you know, the locker room split up on defense and offense when you're going over the corrections. The defense was more like, more mad at ourselves that, you know, some of the points that we given up and stuff like that was like again, they were from mistakes that we made on ourselves. So we're going in there correcting our mistakes, doing what we got to do. But then as far as the team morale was, man, we're not finished yet. Like, no matter if we're up by 7, if we're down this or that, there's 2 more quarters left to where we get to what our goal is. But we have 2 more quarters. We got to fight. We got to give everything in, pour everything we got into it. And as far as the defensive side, in our heads, we're going, the defense wants to win this game. So we go out there, and like you said, we get down to, you know, to get into the red zone. And me and Sonny always laugh about is, man, I think this is the best goal line defense I've ever been a part of. This goal line defense never folds, never gets nervous. We know that. We honestly laugh. We're like, man, we get down to that red zone, we honestly get excited because, you know, that's our best. That's where our best defense comes in. But no, I think just that mindset, man, is like you said before. Give us an inch, we'll defend it. Is no one ever is thinking that they're going to score. Like, in everyone's head, we're knowing that we're going to get this stop right now, and you know we get this stop and. Jack has had a nose for spectacular plays this year. Go back to, you know, even though we didn't win, that Team Up North play and this Texas play, the most insane plays I've ever seen by defensive linemen since I've been here. And, you know, he did that, man. And I remember just being so tired. I couldn't chase Jack. Like, my body, I had given everything. Like, my body was shutting down. I'm watching him run. I just ran to the sideline. I said, I can't breathe. Like, I need some air. So, it was an amazing moment, man, and I was so happy for Jack.
So, I mean, I thought you'd pull a full vet move. Like, the thing is, when you have a pick 6 or scoop and score, like, you got to go back out there. And, like, obviously you've got a 14-point cushion, so that feels a lot better. But you got 2 minutes left that you've got to go and defend still to finish the game. Like, I thought you'd give them, like, the vet move where, you know, just stay there, maybe take a knee, point to the sky, and, you know, just chill a little bit. But you obviously tried to run some.
First of all, honestly, I think I was just so like, yo, no way this just happened. That like my body, as I'm thinking that my body is just naturally running, and then I'm getting there, and then I'm starting to realize, yo, I am so out of breath. Like I need to get to the sideline and get some water. And I just remember looking at me, Cody, all the defenses just trying to get as much water and much air as we can because we know we have to go out there and get one more stand, man. But I definitely was the most exhausting game I've ever played in.
Let me go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, because you know you guys get nicked up and stuff throughout the game, and Ryan talked about Denzel suffering, you know, the upper body injury, didn't really play much in the second half, and just the depth that you guys have in that secondary, and then Jermaine comes in, and what's the conversation like? I mean, he's a veteran guy, and he's played a lot, so it's not like this is his first time. And you know Jermaine, he's got more confidence than I think everybody else on the field combined. But I mean, was there anything said like when he was that next guy up that had to go that whole second half?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you. I think there's nothing I need to say for Jermaine to go out there and have confidence. I think all of us are just confident with all the DBs that step out there. But speaking of Jermaine in particular, man, he goes out there and handles business on the biggest stages every time. I mean, you go back to last year, his really first time playing in big game was against Penn State and went out there and dominated. And now, fast forward to now, goes out there on Texas, the biggest stage you could possibly ask for, and does his job and executes at such a high level. So that speaks volumes about Jermaine and his preparation, but he lacks no confidence every time he steps on the field.
Facts. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your recovery, because one thing I've always admired about you is that you handle your business like you're pro, you speak like a pro, you act like a pro. And tell everybody, so you guys have practice yesterday, and now you've already talked about Stu and the boys in the training room getting your body right. What does that look like for a Lathan Ransom, a veteran guy, fifth-year guy, had injuries in the past, getting your body right for this national championship?
Well, it looks good because, I mean, you can talk to Bobby. Last week, I was going through it the whole week. I had the flu. I was sick. I was down my weight. And it was just finding ways, you know, to continue to get through it. But I was laughing with Stu yesterday. I said, yesterday's the best I felt in weeks, in a week, really. Going out there and practicing, man, I got a bunch of energy and a bunch of juice that I was lacking on. I think some of the juice last week. So now that I'm gaining my weight back now and able to lift, I'm excited. But like you said, I get in there in the morning. I'm real early, watching film, get a massage, and then after that, I actually do my treatment with Stu, some of my treatment stuff that I need to work on, knock that out. Then I get a lift in. Bobby always laughing. I always give me an extra lift. And then I go in there and I actually do some pull sprints with Stu because I just, from being, when you lose a lot of weight really fast, you kind of feel out of shape. So doing some extra pull sprints with him, to continue to get back in shape. And then some needles, some more stretching, and then, more film, and then you're back at home. So when you have a day like this, it's a big day, to take advantage of every second you get to get your body right and get your mind right and prepared going into the week.
I heard Emeka say this. I know a lot of you guys have talked like that, this is the last game you guys potentially could have had, and everybody was fighting to get to this week. The week's here now. Emotionally, as you go through and prepare, I mean, how is that hitting you? Is that something that you've thought about where, I mean, you've literally run it to the end and now you get a chance to finish when you talk 5 weeks ago about how far this looked, and now all of a sudden you're sitting here on the doorstep of it. I mean, is that something that you've thought about, and then how has that resonated with you?
Yeah, so I think something that I think me and Caleb always talk about and do a good job at is at the end of the day, it's another football game. I think that never making the moment too big, never making it seem bigger than what it is. At the end of the day, I'm going out there to play another football game, and then after this game is over, I think it's gonna hit me like, man, we just won the national championship and this and that. If we do and execute everything we got to do, but until then, man, I'm going and preparing like it's another big game because at Ohio State. You play your fair share of big games, so never letting the moment get too big. But at the end of the day, I think all these last 4 games we played, Coach Day has made an emphasis on how big it is, how every moment is so important, whether it's the walkthrough, the practice, the game. So I think we're just going to continue to follow that resume because it's been working. It's not just the game that's the big moment. It's these walkthroughs, it's these meetings where every chance we get, we're trying to get an edge on Notre Dame. So yeah, I think just not making the moment too big, man. But at the end of the day, every moment leading up to it is just as big as the game.
Looking at Notre Dame, you think predominantly running the football. They got outrushed by Penn State. They ran for 116 yards, but they threw on that defense for 267. What have you seen right now from film? Just talking, Notre Dame offense. Because again, let's face it, right? There's a couple of wheel routes, right, in the Texas game. We got to clean up, right? Again, there is no perfect game, right? There's always room for growth. But as you watch Notre Dame, like what are you looking, what are you watching right now as you're watching film?
I think first of all, their quarterback does a great job just running the whole offense. The offense runs whether he's running the ball, facilitating it, making checks that to what the defense is showing, and getting the ball out fast, making great throws, making the right throws. So he does a great job. Hats off to him. But yeah, I think just making the right throws. I don't think, even though he did turn over the ball against Penn State a couple times, but other than that, he does a great job, making the right throws, making the right reads. And then they got good receivers, good tight end. They do a good job getting the ball into their running backs, whether it's not running the ball, also passing the ball to them. So they do a lot of great things, man. A great team, the coach is a former Ohio State guy. They got a great culture over there, man. I think it's cool too, is like when you think about just historic games, and you think about, the culture of Ohio State, the culture of Notre Dame, I think these are two of the coolest cultures, and I'm a fan of both cultures, honestly, when I was growing up. So to see them playing the national championship, man, the first 12-team playoff, I think this is going to go down as one of the, the greatest games in history. So I'm excited.
Well, Marcus was sophomore when Schlegel and I were seniors. Lathan, so we very familiar with him. I mean, you guys coach Laurinaitis, man. They were boys. They're in each other's wedding, for heaven's sake. So you're not getting any closer to that if you want to try to get some in-game action. Before we let you go, I know this has been a 16-game marathon going all the way back to camp. You're a guy who always has been battling, always recovering, always watching film. After the game come Tuesday or even Monday night, I'm sure you're going to celebrate a little bit, hopefully, and stay over in the ATL. Do we have any shows or movies or anything that we've been wanting to catch up on that we've been just neglecting here for the last 5 months?
Yeah, that's a great question. What's funny is I actually I've been seeing a lot of videos on that new Mufasa, Lion King, all that. So that's a movie I actually want to see. I've been pushing it off. I've been really wanting to see that movie. So I think that's the movie. If I get a chance to see, it would be that one because I think that just holds dear to me. When I was a little kid, and I'm seeing not different storyline. I'm seeing a bunch of videos made about it online, so I'm intrigued to go see that movie.
All right. Well, Lathan, we appreciate it, man. Get back to recovering, get some rest, and look forward to seeing you down in Atlanta. Good luck, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
See you, bro.
Lathan Ransom, one of the best, man. Excited to stay with him all season. Hopefully we can track him through the draft and stay with him because he's truly a great Buckeye and part of the best safety combination, in my opinion, in the country. All right, now we've got one of the best sports writers in the country, the guy hailing from Central Ohio, one of Pickerington's own, talking about Jack Sawyer, the love for him. Well, he gets to see him up close and personal. We got to watch this guy grow up. Mr. Bill Bender of the Sporting News joining us next. All right, welcome back to the Bobby Carpenter Show. And now we bumped him back a segment because Lathan was joining us. Pleased to welcome in our guy, Bill Bender. Been patiently waiting there, Bill. We really appreciate you coming on with us today. Hopefully you got a chance to listen to Lathan there, one of the great college players, like great humans that you're going to find, and really excited to get a chance to talk with him today. You had told me earlier, before we get too far into this, you're going to get a chance to talk to our former coach, Jim Tressel, obviously coached at Ohio State, Coach Marcus Freeman, head coach at Notre Dame. What is where do you think we're going to be going with this story, and kind of what are you looking for? Oh, we got him muted. Let's unmute him, Pat.
He's got too much to say. I got to hear this.
Oh, unfortunately, we still got him muted. Let's see if we can get that figured out.
Pat says it is not me. There's Bill.
Oh, we still don't have you. I'm sorry. We'll get this figured out here in a second. Maybe reload it. But I'm excited.
So he interviewed Tress about Marcus.
He's going to be interviewing Tress, and probably not just about Marcus. I'm guessing about the entirety of Ohio State playing for their third national championship, or I guess having a chance to win their third. They played for a number of other ones. Bill, we got you now, sir?
I think we do.
We got it.
There he is. Look at that voice. Look at
you heard the conversation there. Where are we going with this talk with Tress?
Yeah, I think you guys can guess a little bit on Marcus Freeman and the relationship that, because Marcus is drawing so many comparisons to Jim Tressel with the way that they are playing with the defense, the special teams, and the offense on top of it. And then, obviously Ohio State and this team and coaching in a national championship game. So I'm looking forward to that conversation this afternoon. And, as you can imagine, my voice is gone because I've had a little bit of a sinus infection. I'm trying to get healthy before I get to Atlanta. And, it does make my voice sound a little bit deeper at least.
Hey, listen, hydrate, bend your knees, man. Yeah. Bill, it's a pretty simple formula for being gas station ready. Hey, one thing that you might want to ask him too is I would love to hear, because he's invested in both, right? I mean, honestly, first off, the governor of the great state of Ohio, Jim Tressel, probably would win. He's done a lot with Ryan Day. He's done a lot with the program. Does a lot with Youngstown State. He literally has a vest that has an O and a Y on it, right? He's all Ohio all the time. And I know that Ryan's leaned down and leaned on him through certain things, right? And his outlook on Ohio State, and then obviously with Marcus. But Bill, let's talk about Texas. Let's talk about this game. Let's talk about this team. What have you seen from this? The resiliency, the guys playing for each other, just from the end of the year to now, and the maturation of both, and I would say coaches and players to get where they are now after this Texas win. What are you feeling?
Well, I think the scary part, if you're on the Notre Dame side, is Ohio State didn't play their best game and still beat Texas 28-14. They had several self-inflicted mistakes that killed 3 drives in the first half. You know, the personal foul, then you had a holding call, and stalled the game out a little bit. I give Texas credit that the defense brought it. We talked about that last week. We thought Texas had a really good defense and a good game plan to take away the top, not let Jeremiah Smith beat them deep, but yeah, I mean, Ohio State's resiliency. And I thought the drive to go up 21-14, a mix of running the ball, a great 4th down call with Will Howard on the quarterback power run, and finishing that drive and retaking the lead when a lot of the momentum at the time was in Texas's favor. That was as key as the 2 big plays from Travion and Jack Sawyer, obviously.
You know, you're a Pickerington resident, Jack Sawyer, Pickerington North alum. You see that play. We talked about, you know, his play against Michigan. We've talked about everything he's done, and you've kind of talked about the type of kid he was, young man he is now. But from a guy who he's talked about wearing, you know, the 33 James Laurinaitis jersey in his backyard to ultimately now wearing that and making, you could argue, if depending on what happens, maybe one of the greatest plays in Ohio State history. Just kind of what that represents for the state of Ohio and especially Central Ohio in an era of national recruiting.
You know, Jack is such a good guy. I was around him when he was 15. I always told the story. I may have told it on here if I retell it. Grant played flag football, and I called Jack for something, and Grant wanted to say hi to him, and he did. And then I had to walk in the other room, and Jack was still talking to Grant 10 minutes later. And I'm thinking, dude, you're 17 years old. What are you doing? Like, go do something else. But he was being sincere and genuine and giving Grant some tips. And I said this, I think, on Morning Juice the other morning. When you looked at Facebook Friday night afterward, you saw so many people from Pickerington, Fairfield County, with pictures of Jack with their son or their daughter. He takes the time to do those things. He's a great guy. His parents are great people, really known in this town. And Bobby, it's similar to Lancaster. I mean, I'm a Pickerington resident, but I'm still a Lancaster native. I always, you know, that's always tough between the rivalry between the two. But you were like that in Lancaster. I feel like that you took the time to take, you know, pictures with kids when you were at Ohio State. Schlegs, I'm sure you did the same. But you know, the comparisons are very similar with you guys and what Jack does. He's that kind of just Buckeye, and you can see how much it means to him. Unbelievable play, by the way. I mean, when he did that, I was like, well, my story is going to be easily written because I've known this kid since he was 15. My light went on pretty quickly.
Most impressive thing right now that you have, that you feel about the Buckeyes going into this national championship game, offense, defense, special teams, pick one.
Well, probably defense right now. And you had Lathan on there. Their goal line defense is amazing. And it was weird when Texas got the ball. I think they were on the 3-yard line, first and goal?
No, first and goal on the one.
Yeah.
So they got it down to the 1. I still felt like the pressure was on them. That's how good that goal line defense is, that you're able to put pressure on a team. And then they run a toss, which was not a great play call. And Caleb and Lathan made the plays. But I think their defense and that they're going to make Notre Dame work for everything. That's one. And then 2, Notre Dame can't have a first half like they did against Penn State and let Ohio State run all over them, or they'll be in trouble because everything will go over the top. So I think both of those things, Ohio State comes into this game with a ton of confidence. Anytime I see a championship game and a spread over 7, it does make me a little bit leery. But if that's what they're thinking, I mean, you're looking at about what I thought last week, and it could be a 7 to 10 point game.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. When you look at this game now, Bill, and you break it down, obviously Notre Dame, I was impressed with how they battled back. I thought they had to have a lead and kind of lean on people going down 10 and then getting the field goal. And you see Marcus Freeman at halftime. They get a touchdown coming out. And all of a sudden it's 10-all. They battle back and find a way to win. When you look at this game, kind of how do you see this breaking? It's a little bit strength on strength when you start talking about these lines, and a team now that ironically, they beat Texas and they'll play them the next 2 years. They're playing Notre Dame, and they just came off a home-and-home series now, so 2 teams that are fairly familiar with each other.
Yeah, and Notre Dame will have the confidence to know that they can play with them. Now, these are very different teams from last year in some key areas. Notre Dame, obviously, Sam Hartman was a passing quarterback. Riley Leonard's a fullback type that they did throw the ball well against Penn State down the field more than we thought. And Ohio State obviously going from McCord to Howard and bringing in Caleb Downs and Quinshon. So it's not exactly the same. I think there'll be some confidence from the Notre Dame side that they know they can play with Ohio State. They did the last 2 years. It was 21-10. It was 17-14. But I always felt in those games, and I was at both of them, that the pressure was always on Notre Dame's offense to do something, and they simply couldn't get it going against Ohio State consistently. They couldn't put away the Buckeyes when they had a chance last year, and the year before they really couldn't get anything going when they were at Ohio Stadium.
Looking at this game, I mean, competitive advantage, right? Like where is it with you against this Notre Dame team? So again, you lost a defensive tackle, you lost 2 offensive linemen, you got Jeremiah Love that's kind of dinged up. Penn State ran for 204 yards, though their quarterback threw for 223 as a team, 267. Penn State had 5 sacks in this game, to Notre Dame's 1. Like, where do you see this game going, the ebbs and flow of this next Monday?
Well, I mean, just like Texas, Notre Dame has to avoid a first-round knockout. I mean, and Texas did do that. They gave up a touchdown on the first drive, and then they settled in, and I thought their interior line played well on defense, and again, they had a good game plan. So Notre Dame's secondary, I mean, they can't let Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, who, by the way, is on – he's going to break some career records this week.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I was looking at that yesterday, some of the Ohio State receiving records, and impressed with his overall career. So, I mean, avoiding a first-round knockout, making plays into the second half, making sure the defense keeps it in front. I do think it could be a 4-quarter game if they do all those things. And then, but if they play this straight up and it's clean and nobody turns the ball over and it's like 1 turnover either way, Ohio State wins this game by 10 points. If Will Howard and Ohio State turn the ball over and allow Notre Dame to walk in with that special teams and defense formula, then yeah, the Irish have a chance to make this 4-quarter game very interesting in Atlanta.
I mean, we look at everything that happened this year, Bill, and we see an up and down year. I mean, obviously with Bama coming, struggling a little bit, obviously starting fast, and then you watch the SEC kind of struggle a little bit. No SEC team in the final. 2 teams from the North. I know Notre Dame's not in the Big Ten, but they kind of get lumped in to all of this. I mean, is there a representation behind that? I mean, and 2 of the biggest fan bases that you could arguably ask for.
I think the cool part is that I can't remember a time or the last time that Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State all felt good about where they're at. And all 4 of those programs are in a good spot. I know Michigan had more of a down year this year, but
they won the national championship last year.
Yeah, right. So like they were in a honeymoon phase with Sharon Moore. So, and I felt like that in the late 90s when Penn State first joined the Big Ten, where it felt like, okay, whose turn is it this year? If Michigan wins one, Ohio State wins one, and then you start to look at the way too early top 25s, Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Michigan will probably be ranked in preseason top 25. So it's exciting. I mean, and that's what the SEC had. And a couple things with the SEC. One, didn't have a dominant team this year. Nick Saban's gone. We mentioned NIL. Georgia's been through a lot. They had a tough schedule. I give them that. And when Carson Beck's leaving for Miami, that gets your attention. And there wasn't a dominant player in the SEC. They didn't have anybody that finished in the top 10 in the Heisman. So who's the star player in that conference that can carry a team? And I'm going to tell you right now, on those way too early top 25s, you're going to see a lot of Texas Arch Manning. That's who's going to get propped up as the superstar, the savior of the SEC over the offseason.
Well, here's the deal. Everybody can now pay players. So with that being said, let's get your score prediction. You got Ohio State rocking the heritage stripes, one of my favorite uniforms of all time, versus Notre Dame. First 12-team playoff national championship. Bill Mother effing Bender, what do you got? What's your score?
Well, I put my prediction before I saw the over-under. I put Ohio State 27, Notre Dame 17. And then when I saw the over-under was at like 45, I don't know if that's moved much. I was like, okay, now I feel really good about it because you are dealing with the 2 top scoring defenses in the country. And I think Notre Dame's defense will play inspired and make a few plays in the first half to stay around. Which team controls their emotions? You guys have played in those environments. It's going to be, I mean, think about when you've got an event where tickets are costing between like what, 1,500 and 3,000, there's going to be so much emotion in the building. And, you know, between the Ohio State and Notre Dame fan bases, I can't wait. I told Bobby this Monday morning, I think this is my 9th one that I've been able to cover for Sporting News, 9th championship game. And this is by far like 100 levels, the most excited I am to get on the plane, get down to Atlanta and get to work.
It's going to be a fun one, Bill. We appreciate you battling through everything, shifting the time. Get that voice ready. Enjoy talking to Tress. Tell him we said hello, and we'll catch up again next week.
I will, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, bro.
That is the great Bill Bender. Give him a follow on X at BillBender92. And make sure you check out all the stuff on Sporting News. Does such a great job there. All right, coming up next, we got our headlines. We got 2 running back focused. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Big Play, the fastest growing sports media company in America.
I'm gonna keep it straight with you. The reason you should watch our show is because I look good, baby.
Come get some!
Join our millions of fans for live sports talk shows hosted by the top former athletes and sports personalities in the industry.
Ohio, it's my home state.
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan.
Watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Welcome to Big Play.
Make sure you tune in.
I love you, Cleveland.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited to break down some of this. All right, let's get into some running back deals. Ryan Day. The funny thing about this screen pass before half is he sat at the podium there after the game, had some comments about it. We can fire those up there on the next page as we slide through.
We were laughing a little bit in the locker room, having some fun with it because we do screen drill. And I think sometimes, you know, these guys are like, are we ever going to call a screen? And I actually said to the coaches, I said, we're going to stop doing screen drill because we don't call any dang screens. And so sure enough, what do you want to run? You want to, run the ball? You want to take a knee? I said, no, just run the screen. They're like, all right, you sure? Sure enough, it went the whole distance, went for, 75 first play. But Travion has become a 3-down back. Travion is going to be a tremendous pro because not only does he do a good job running the football, but he protects at a high level, and he's a threat with the ball in his hands as a receiver.
Absolutely. And he's done a tremendous job. And it's funny, Schlegs, like you do all this stuff. It's like, we practice this, guys.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to run a screen? And they've got athletic backs who should be able to run screen, like utilize screens. And finally, you pull it out. I mean, if I'm Texas, like, why would you think about the screen? They hadn't run one all season long, and you got a dude that runs 20,000 miles an hour once you let him get going. It was the perfect call.
Yeah, Trey's like a high 22, low 23 mile an hour guy. I mean, he can fly, guys. And so, to what Ryan Day, and this goes for all kids that are out there, like, what does Trey do? Trey runs extremely hard. Trey blocks violently, and he also has great vision and can put his foot in the ground and go the distance. But he set himself up for that. But it also comes with what, Bob? The ability to have, depth at the position, the guy to have Q, who also had 2 touchdowns in that game. But you go back to these drills, and listen, I know it gets monotonous. Tell your kids, I know it gets monotonous going through and working on the fundamentals of your craft and going through and doing a screen drill, not for the sake of running the screen, but for the sake of, how am I going to read this? How am I going to put my foot in the ground? How can I set this guy up? What's the patience look like when I got to allow my 3 linemen to get downfield and block? And that's timing. So I just don't do it to do it. I do it with a purpose. And you always got to kind of feed that. Now that Ryan Day said that. Like, that's probably ties into his emotion when you see him doing the Shooter McGavin over there on the sideline. I wish he would have like done that and Shooter, like that would have been epic. Like give him a little shoulder shimmy. That would have been fantastic.
You don't need to give him a shoulder shimmy when you got a guy like Quinshon Judkins who's over there running the rock for you or potentially blocking. And you want to see guys that block for each other, guys that are team dudes. I mean, holy smokes, most lead backs legs don't want to go out there and deliver the wood and lay the wood on someone and block for somebody else. Not Q. Check this thing out. Pow! Oh, whammy.
Yes. Beautiful. Look at that, man. Look at that.
That was a beautiful shot. That was how Deontay Johnson used to block you in practice, I think.
No, hell no, man. Sergeant Rock, listen, he tried, just straight meat skull on meat skull. Here's the thing about that, and we go back, and again, I'm saying for both teams, right? I'm praising both teams in this, but I'm leaning on Ohio State here. One, I love Q from the moment I met him. I love his smile. I love his demeanor. I love his intensity. But I also but look, like he's blocking, right? He's blocking for a teammate. But him and Trevion, man, competed in every drill all the time. It was freaking awesome. They wanted to make each other better. Like, yeah, they're splitting reps. Like, they're supporting each other. They're each other's biggest fan. And then you get to go out there and you lay a block like that. Like, that's how do you show how much you care in a game of football? It's about what you do when you don't have the ball in your hand. And that's a prime example of Q. Again, guys, we talked, Bob, you and I talked ad nauseum about how the culture at Ohio State was really good. You got a one-year guy that came in from Ole Miss, came to Ohio State in January, and he's doing that for a teammate, somebody that's the leading rusher in the SEC that wasn't up there in yardage, but still like way up there in touchdowns, but he's doing that without the ball in his hand. Like, that's culture, guys. Because why? You put an emphasis on the little things outside of you doing your job, running the football. That's a win. That's Coach Locke. That's Coach Kelly. That's Coach Ryan Day. That's the culture. Awesome to see.
And here's the best part, Schlegs, is Locke kind of subtly did it, but Q kind of starts the games now. And so Trey kind of comes in.
Yeah, he switched that up. What game was it? Was that after the Nebraska game?
Yeah, Oregon, Nebraska, somewhere in there, like right around that time, maybe right after one of them. And like Trey didn't say a word. Q didn't say a word. Q gets 2 rushing touchdowns. Trey has a long screen touchdown. Q's blocking for him like that. Like all these guys, they're total backs. And honestly, it's made them better. And someone goes, Trey needs to play more. I go, Trey's playing just enough.
Yes.
Perfect. That's why he looks so fast still. And he knows that. When you're fresh and you haven't taken twice as many beatings throughout the season, like that's what allows you to have that burst of speed. Yes, go ahead.
I would say this too, like this, they might be setting a precedent for college backs moving forward. Because what's the one thing, like we know in the game of in the NFL, right? Not for long, but backs aren't receiving the dollars amounts. But part of that is why, Bob. Like you got the crap beat out of you for 350 carries, a year in college because you were the workhorse. But now, because you have another back that can split the time and you guys push each other, and they both are subtly different but complete backs. Q can do the same with the ball that's down. He might not be as fast as Trey, but he can do it, right? And he is a punishing blocker, and he runs very physical. He is the meteor back. He's 225. He's all of 225. He's got huge thighs, man. So again, this might be what moves forward. It's like not necessarily, hey, you're bringing in competition. Like, hey, you're bringing in somebody that can share the rock with me so I'm fresh at the end of the year, but also fresh when I get into my career in the NFL.
Absolutely. All right. We got our tailgate talk. So we're going to answer. I got a great question for you. Stay tuned. Coming up next.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, Schlegs, we've got ourselves we've got two big questions because now we're doing our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. You go to realtruck.com, outfit your truck, your Jeep, your Bronco, bring it to life just like we did. I've told you all about all the great Real Truck accessories I've got on my Jeep, the bed cover of my truck, the new top, the winches, the bumpers, all of it. It's sweet. They got stuff for the inside. I need to get some seat covers, Schlegs. That's next up.
Carhartt, baby. Carhartt seat covers. Camo. Woo!
Go to realtruck.com. Slap it in there. You spend $100, promo code Bobby at checkout. You get a free Real Truck hat. Honestly, how great is that? Absolutely tremendous. Realtruck.com. Bring your truck to life. All right. Schlegs, this one is coming from our guy, Nick Seipel. Obviously, ND's success on offense will hinge on the effectiveness of the QB run. How would you guys scheme to minimize this?
I actually quoted him back.
Some high layer here stuff. Like
hit him in the face. When you have the QB running that, like that's where the safety's going to come into play because they have an extra guy. So again, versus Notre Dame, predicated upon the personnel, but you're going to get. I don't know if they go over, under. It doesn't really matter, but you're going to get a 4-3. Like you're going to get the stuff that we saw earlier in the season. Probably Veli's going to have a big part of this game, whether or CJ, right, as a Sam, you're going to get a lot of that in this. Somebody that can make sure that they can set the edge, but you're going to have to fill, and your safety's going to have to fill because and here's the biggest thing in this game, in a game like this, when you're bringing two guys into the back, like where is the spiller? Who's coming over the top? Who am I spilling it to? Like there can be no gray in this. Like, well, on this play, I'm going to squeeze it. On this play, I'm going to spill it. Like I remember you and I, Bob, we're like, what the Sam Dick are we doing? I'm spilling everything. I'm just coming down. I'm going to blow it up, scrape over the top because then you don't have to worry about that guy coming up, rubbing on a B-block, trying to get to you, cut you off. That's where the seams happen. So, again, the biggest thing in this defensively is not necessarily how you're going to scheme it up, but how do you fit it up? That's the biggest thing because when you can fit it at the line of scrimmage or on their side of the football, that's where the magic happens because then you're going to have free hitters like Caleb Downs, not free hitter, but like 1v1, quarterback and safety. I trust our safeties. Now, Riley Leonard's a big dude now.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big dude, but you know what, though? Hit him and hit him often.
He is. He gets downhill, very physical guy. I mean, that's why Lathan does all those arms. That's why he does all those extra arm Schlegs so he can hit.
Dude, he's got some girthy pipes, bro. He's got some,
Told him. He's got the young guys, Malik Hartford, some of the young dudes in there getting gassed up too. So hopefully we'll pass that on. The last one, Schlegs, comes from Joe Blackburn. Since you're living down there now, wants to know when they're going to get a Roosters in Round Town.
Yeah, I said we got a Roosters in Round Town.
I was going to say there is one. That's when I saw this.
I think what he was saying, Bob, was you guys do the thing with the podcast with you guys do it there. Maybe what he's saying is
we get on the road.
We should do the Bobby Carpenter show, do a road show, and go down to Roosters in Round Town.
We could do that.
The R&R road show in Round Town. Boom, at Roosters, Triple R. That's like a ranch.
Yeah, we could do that. We could bring it down.
Amazing.
There. Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
Tell that guy, tweet that guy back and says, you set it up. We'll be there. But I need mac and cheese bites, a minimum of 3, no sour cream. Don't even waste it on me. And I'm going to need an Italian sub.
Even Court got an Italian sub from there the other day.
Because it's delicious.
Maybe after the weekend after the national championship, if you're up here, maybe we'll go there, do like a Friday night recording, have some food and some bevs, and we'll sit there and hang out and have some drinks and talk about how great the Buckeyes are winning their third national championship in the last 25 years. All right, that is the end of, and we do need a Roosters up in Cleveland. They're not really up there yet. I know they're working on expanding for it, Pat, so we'll get you taken care of as well. But that ends our tailgate talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Go check them out. All right, coming up next, we will wrap up the show. Some parting thoughts from Anthony Schlegel.
Welcome to Big Play, the fastest growing sports media company in America.
I'm gonna keep it straight with you. The reason you should watch our show is because I look good, baby.
Come get some!
Join our millions of fans for live sports talk shows hosted by the top former athletes and sports personalities in the industry.
Ohio, it's my home state.
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan.
Watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Welcome to Big Play.
All right, Schlegs, wrap up the show. Give us your final thoughts.
Yeah, put up that Ben Scott Stevens one. One, he's the man that has three names. Two, he's phenomenal at what he does and is an unbelievable guest. So I want to give him his props for putting this out there. Look at Ohio. Look at it. Ohio State's red zone defense this season. 36 opponent red zone trips, tied for fifth fewest. 22 opponents red zone scores, fewest. 15 total opponent red zone touchdowns, fewest. Here's the deal. That doesn't happen just because you strap it up and you're in those situations. It happens because at the beginning of the year, spring football, summer, defense, like throughout the season, it's a mindset. It's a mindset. I'm going to compete. I'm going to win. I'm going to compete. I'm going to win. Put me in competitive situations. I'm going to win. Me versus that guy. I'm going to win. Also, collectively as a team, guess what? Win your one-on-one. That's what this comes down to. That's the mindset of Ohio State's defense. Super proud of the Silver Bullets. One of the greatest seasons of Silver Bullet defense of all time at the Ohio State University.
Just got to finish it off. Let's finish it off today's show. Stay locked in tomorrow, 12:30. We'll get our guy, Mr. Aaron James Hawk, ready to rock as we continue to preview this national championship and get you ready for Buckeyes taking on Notre Dame. See you then.